Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. The goal of this video is to really provide just kind of a short little um, kind of helper guide for getting up and running with Rails on Google Cloud. Now, this is kind of separate from most of the videos. It's kind of in the things that you're going to forget you need to do, but hopefully he made a video about it so that we can go back to look at it kind of thing. And this is one of the things that was pretty highly requested in class last year because people would always forget like what's the way that we have to do this. So this is all about getting Rails up and running on Google Cloud. Now, I'm going to assume you have it installed already. I'm going to assume that you have at least played with the kind of Hello World type of thing. Again, this is all like just the tiny little gotchas that we have here. So let me pop over to the main. Um, Now, this is my Google Cloud Console. Again, this is the kind of quote unquote new welcome page that they have. It may again change or not change. I already started up my virtual machine just for editing purposes, but I went over to virtual machine instances. We see this is already running. And if you forgot how to do this, little three dots and then start. And then again, because the Rails VM is going to be a little beefier, make sure you stop it when you're done. Now, the silly thing I did not do was to start SSH already because that's going to take a hot minute to get up and running. So what we are going to be doing here are basically making sure that Rails can talk to the greater internet again so that I can grade your work, basically. Um, now, I've got my VM here. I'm going to do an ls. Again, that's just to list the contents of my directory. I'm in my home. I've got a MVC tester, blog, blog.old, so a few various folders I've been using for demos. Now, what I want to do is go ahead and start things up. So I'm going to go into my blog directory. Again, this is that one of the Hello World types of things. And typically what we do while we're inside that directory is to go ahead and run bin rails server, right? So we typically would do something like this. And that's going to start out, and we see, and again, I'm probably reiterating some of the other videos. I just wanted this in one spot for you all. We see that our server's running on 127.0.0.1, port 3000. So if you are familiar with IP addresses, you know this is typically your local host, right? The issue here is that it is the local host for this VM, not for the greater internet. This is most likely something Google specific or at least cloud specific where you have some kind of abstractions behind the network. If you're running Rails on your own machine, it probably wouldn't matter. But because we're trying to expose this to the greater world, that's something that we need to take care of. Because, just as a reminder, I'm going to go here. So this is my external IP address. This is what anybody could go view. So go to the website. I did set up Apache, so that's good. I couldn't remember if I had done this part or not. And then I say 3000, and nothing's going to work here. Okay, so it could be a couple things. We don't see any page, right? It's loading forever, and it's probably going to error out while I'm talking. So if you see something like this, could be a few things. The port is not open. So this port 3000, maybe one of our firewalls is blocking it. Okay, there we go. Here's our error that page can't be reached. Okay, as expected. So could be the port. In the case of Google Cloud and our server environment, we have two firewalls again, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. There's the local firewall, which is on your virtual machine here. So this is your Ubuntu virtual instance. You need to open that port. And in Google Cloud, there's a secondary firewall. So we've talked about this too a little bit, but you need to make sure that you open up that in your VPC network. So basically, it's a two-tiered firewall. The Google Cloud firewall and the server firewall. Both need to be open. We're going to not use 3000. We're going to use port 8080 just to make life a little bit easier. But that's just a couple of things. If you get those ports opened up and you know that they are working, could also be the IP address, which is the first thing we are going to do here. Okay, so I'm going to stop the server. Control C to stop. Tells you that right there. Now, if I were to go ahead, and I'm just hitting up and down to go through my history quickly. Again, if you're not familiar with Linux, that could be helpful. But here's our bin/rails server that we ran before. We're going to run -b 0.0.0.0. This is telling Rails to start its server on port 0000, or port on IP address 0000, which is going to make basically getting it out on the internet a little bit easier for the server. It's not going to be tied to 127.0.0.1. It's going to allow us to assign an actual IP address to it. Okay, so this is our server. We'll see once we run that it goes to 0.0.0.0 after you run it. We are also going to tack on a -p 8080. So again, 3000 is technically fine. 8080 is more of a common internet port for websites. It's really up to you, honestly. It doesn't really matter as long as your client knows where to connect. But what we're doing here, this is the command that you pretty much want to run. bin/rails server, set the IP address, set the port. So if I run this now, we see that it's listening on 0000:8080. And again, I kind of hand waved the 0000 bit, more for server translation stuff. And if I go ahead and I now go to 8080, I should see this working because I have all the ports set up nicely. You might not see this at that point though. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop this. Going back a touch, I talked about opening up firewall ports. Two things we need to do here. So the first one, let me clear this out a little bit, is we need to open up port 8080 on the server here. Again, the server being our Ubuntu instance. So sudo ufw allow 8080. All right. So this is already added. So you see skipping adding existing rule. If you did not allow this before, it would say updating rules. Okay. So basically this allows it on this server. Most machines, that's all you need to do. Because we are using Google Cloud, we also need to go to our firewall. So I just went to search because it's quick and easy. You could also go to the little hamburger menu, search for VPC network, delve into firewall, so on and so forth, but easier to just search on firewall, VPC network. Okay, so we go here and we see a whole bunch of junk that I've been playing with over time. Mildly sure that this is tied to your account, not necessarily your project, because some of these things are old for me. But what you want in this case is your default allow HTTP. Now this is going to be the easiest way to get the port open for you. You could add a new rule, which is fine. You just have to make sure that you get everything set up appropriately for Google Cloud. And the reason why we're going to do it this particular way is that I have had issues in the past where for some reason it doesn't work, and I don't know why, even though everything seems to be fine. But I'm going to pick my default allow HTTP. Okay, so what you would see before is probably TCP 80 before you edit it. Okay, I already edited mine, so you see 8080 there. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to click edit. And I'm going to leave everything alone in here. And we see some targets, tags, filters, IP ranges. So this 0.0.0.0/0 means allow anybody to access it. Ports, now this is what we start to care about. Specified protocols and ports is already checked. And you're probably going to see something that looks kind of like this, TCP 80, right? UDP is left alone, others left alone, because we only care about TCP connections. What you want to do in here is comma 8080. All right, so basically we are also allowing port 8080 to be on here. So what's going to happen then is that's going to allow 8080 through the Google firewall. Then the UFW command allowed us into the server. And then once we get everything up and running, we see something like this on our server. Right, so please snap the screen. There we go. Now, if I were to go ahead and run my server again, hopefully I didn't break anything. Always the case. Okay, refresh. Okay, we see activity over here, which is good. We see, the page is loaded over here, which is good. And that's pretty much what we need to do to get Rails up and running. Other kind of points that we might have. So some of my videos are using Rails 7.0.2, I believe. and we are currently on 7.0.4. That is perfectly fine. As far as I am aware, everything we are doing in class should work just fine with the newest version of Rails. If any of you run into anything weird, please let me know, and I will, make updates as necessary, but at least to my understanding, everything's pretty seamless. When we get to React, that might be a different story, but at least Rails should be fine. Okay, so I will also provide a little write-up in the description for you all. Um, but again, this is mainly particular to Google issues and port issues and making sure that you get everything up and running. Okay, well, bye everybody. Good luck. Let me know if you have issues and hope you have a wonderful day.